Hi guys, I'm Sean from BlueHub, and today I'm going to be covering inventory write-off expense allocations for you. And just to cover that in more simpler terms, what that means is whenever we're removing an item from our inventory, we're going to then allocate the expense of that item being gone or its value to another product. What this allows us to do is essentially something similar to a bill of materials, where we can combine the value of two products so that the profit margins on our final product that we're selling are accurate. If you are using bill of materials, this might not be necessary, but if you are going with a more ad hoc write-off approach to allocating your costs, then this is when you may want to use this. If I jump into our inventory now and I go into inventory write-off, this feature has been in Deer for a while. However, only recently they've actually added the ability to allocate the expenses based on your write-offs. From here, we can select a location where we're going to be completing our write-off. So in my case, I'm going to be using factory. And then we're going to want to apply a expense account, which is a cost of goods account like so. From here, we can then go into our inventory and we can add our item as you typically would with any other write-off. All this is going to do typically in Deer circumstances is remove the value of this item from your inventory and push it into the value into that expense account. Basically to say this item's been wrote off in most cases, hence the write-off. Once we've added our item in like so and our value has been dictated here, we can then press complete, and that's going to remove that from our inventory and move the value into the expense account. From here, if we go into our financials page, we'll then see we have the following expense that's come out of our pre-made payments and gone into our cost of goods sold. From there, what the new feature here we have is this button labeled expenses, and if we click into that, we'll get the following screen. What this is going to allow us to do is click on our expense here and allocate our £12.50 to different orders within the system. So if I was to, for example, click in new allocation, I could allocate to a purchase invoice, an assembly, or a production run, meaning essentially I could allocate this expense to a purchase product to say that we've done some work on it after it's been purchased. I could allocate it to a transferred in product or an assembled product, meaning if we've just built something and then we actually use this paint on it, or we wrote this off because it was broken, we can still allocate that expense to that part. And the same with the production run, and you can allocate it to the finished product being created there. In my circumstance here, I'm just going to assign it to a purchased item so that I can show you what it looks like. I can then get a drop down here. I don't think it works because of a piece of software I'm using, but we can also specify a particular invoice. So if you give me 2 seconds, I will get an invoice and put that in there. So I've just gone and found an invoice. It was labeled 0001. And since we have a few in the system with that, I know that this one was from A&J Fasteners. So I'm going to allocate my expense to this 0 amount invoice here. So I will then click on that. I can then specify the amount that we have remaining to allocate to this order. I could also allocate it across multiple orders if I wanted to by adding in multiple purchase invoices and allocating it across multiple, like so. Like that, for example. So then I can allocate, say, £6.50 to one and £6 to another. So in the instance, maybe you was using bubble wrap to cover up your items, you could have that as an inventory product. You could then write it off based on the fact that it's been used on 2 of your goods and now has to be removed from stock. Since it's been used on 2 batches of goods, you can allocate that expense across both so that your cost of goods for both of those different batches of goods are true. From there, we can just hit save. And that's then going to allocate our expenses, and we get our links to what it's been allocated to here. If we then click into one of those links, it's going to take us to the relevant purchase orders where those expenses have been allocated so that we can get a view of the order, and we can go into our manual journals, and you'll see here that we'll have our £6 allocated from cost of goods sold, like so. If we go into our other order, we should also have our £6.50. I think I've got the same one there. It keeps taking me back to the same place. Sorry about that. Yeah, we'll see. We'll then have our £6.50 in this account once again going to from our cost of goods sold against the item. I hope this video was helpful in understanding that and how it can be used. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and I will be happy to answer any queries you have. I'll speak to you in the next video, and that'll be all from me. Bye.